Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Live on Neeves Knives. How's everybody doing? Looks like you guys can hear me. I'm trying to pull the stream up on my end. So I figured we would talk a little bit about, because I did my 15 favorite budget knives or affordable knives under $100 video, but that was just from 2023. So now, what would be the all-time top 5 budget knives ever, right? And I sit here and fight with myself about it, because I get asked this all the time. So it's like something I kind of have to have, like, ready to feed, because people, usually want to know, like, what's the best budget knife for this. But then you also got to ask, what is the price range now? Because, when I got in the community, budget knives were under 50 bucks. That's what it was. It was under 50 bucks. Now, I don't even think that's possible. I don't even think you could say a budget knife is under 50 bucks anymore. I think it would have to be like under 75 at this point. A lot of people would say under 100. So I do have a few knives pulled up over here that I think are absolute bangers. I'm not sure if they would be the ultimate 5, but they're definitely in, like, at least questionable. Dukes of Hazzard with the 2 bones, send cut serene, but that would be under 50, right? So, under 50 bucks, I would agree. I would agree. Under 50 bucks, I would say that is the best you could get right now. Now, I would say if you don't want a button lock, right? I would say the Sen Cut Watauga, or sorry, what if you do want a button lock, another button lock, Sen Cut Watauga, and if you don't want a button lock, the Civivi Praxis is still a heavy hitter. This is like 44 bucks, and it's hard to beat. It's very hard to beat for 44 bucks. Just like the Backlash too. I need to get another Backlash. I don't have. I wound up giving it away, but I'm thinking that the price obviously has went up. I think when we're talking about budget knives now, it's kind of got to be at the least 65 bucks. Jared, what's the price point? Oh yeah, Jared and Kara. I'm thinking, well, like I said, I think most people are probably going to think under 100, but I think 65 and under, or 70 and under. Like, put it this way: the Predator, the CMB Predator. This absolutely would be on my list if it could go up to $70, right? And if you're already at 65, what's an extra $5 to make sure you're going to get something super solid? This is like one of the best work knives you can get. And for 70 bucks, you're getting 14C 28N, beautiful drop point, nice swedge on the top. The crossbar lock has some of the strongest Omega springs I've ever felt on a crossbar lock. I remember back in the day when I first got in the community, Ganzo was doing crossbar locks, and they're the only other company that I ever seen that had Omega springs like this. These Omega springs are so strong. Like when I grab like a Hogue and then I pull it down, it feels almost like it's broken after you doing this one, because this one's so strong. It's kind of like a ball lock, actually. The same way when you first get a Manix 2, the way, when you pull down the ball lock, it's about the same strength. Bones with the 2 bones. Thank you, brother. Some good Sativians now for under 60 bones. Yeah, I actually got one right here. This one I think is 60 bucks. The 995. Yeah, the 995 M390 carbon fiber and titanium. And thank you for the 2 bones. By the way, that package is mailed to you. Oh yeah, and by the way, whoever, hey baby, where's that list of the people that won that giveaway? Can you bring it to me so I can see the one that's missing? World Tree? The person who won the Kubi Dandy in S90V the last time, we did not get your email, so all right. Yeah. It's hard to pick one. I'm just spending too much already. This is the best days to pick up some great knives. It is. It is the best time to be into knives. 1,000,000%. And I was saying that. It's funny because I was saying that 5 years ago, and 5 years ago doesn't have nothing on today because we have like surpassed everything we wanted. Because I remember 10 years ago, maybe not quite 10 years ago, like 7 years ago, some of the stuff coming in was so good, like you couldn't have even imagined it 5 years before that, and with the action, the detents, how well they were doing. But now it's like that's like the least. Like, you know what I mean? Like a good detent is like just mandatory now. A super solid detent, stupid smooth action, drop shut action, like this just normal now. But 5, 7 years ago, that was not. So a couple ones that I think are definitely in the leading, right? If we're gonna say the best budget knives, I'm gonna say 65 and under. Well, 70 and under if you take this bad boy, which I would absolutely want to put in. It is that good, man. This is such a good knife. But I can't get over the Elementum button lock. I know it's a gravity knife. I know not everybody wants to just push a button because you have to swing it, which is fun. It is fidgety. It's different. And I like the sound of it because it locks when it's closed. So you can hear it. And it locks open. So open and close. But the shape, size, dimensions of this knife, in my opinion, is a perfect knife. This is a perfect pocket knife. When I look at its deep hollow ground spear point blade, that is so slicey in 14C. So it has a steel that actually supports the geometry, which we're going to talk about 154 cm and versus 14C here in a second. Don't let me forget. But the handle is super neutral, so it doesn't matter what direction you're cutting in. Even the gas station knife fighting grip, this thing is fire. So I think as a user, this is one of the best knives you can get, hands down. Or at least in my opinion, I think that this is a fantastic pocket knife, even just when it's closed. Like not much blade hangs out, super slim, goes right in the pocket, lightweight. But then you have a 3.5-inch blade. This is a badass knife. Good sharpening choil, stupid good action. And I like it way more than the regular Elementum. I think budget. Wait, I think budget is you get more experienced as you try not knives. Budget moves up. Yeah, as you try more knives, your budget definitely goes up for sure. That's why most people that have been in the community for a long time, when they think affordable knives, they think under 100. That's usually what it is. But for the majority and everybody, I think like anytime I do a video on like a short where the shorts reach a community that's not the knife community, and if I say a budget knife and it's like $75 or $60, they freak out as if like that's an expensive knife. How is that a budget knife? It's $60. And it's like they just don't know. Okay, so another one I think has to go on the list, which already was on my list, my top 15. That the new Cubit. I know it's new. I know it hasn't been around long enough, but it's that good. It really is. I see Cedric and Ada, Pete has one and he's testing one out right now. I'm curious to see what he thinks about it. Because personally for me, like I said, this has been like my workout knife. It's been just my goal, like just my all-around knife, like the past since it came out, since I got it. Like I've carried this more than any other knife since I've gotten it. And that's a fact. The only other knife like that I carried just as much, or maybe not just as much, but almost as much, is my Hogue Deca. And it's the lightweightness, it's being able to just toss it in, on the hip or in the pocket very easily. But the Civivi Cubit, man, again, a lot of the same qualities why I like this. Super thin geometry, and it is so damn slicey. So slicey. This is one of the sliciest knives in my collection now. But 14C, so it actually can support that geometry, because that's what it was made for. It was made for super thin razors. Aluminum handles that are solid, so you're not getting any flex or anything. So it's super lightweight while feeling tough. I know a button lock isn't a tough lock, but you know, if it's solid, I'll tell you that much. Dukes of Hazzard, another 2 bones. I like that shape, baby. Pokey. Yeah, me too. And Rickert. Shout out to Rickert. He is a new member of the Rocksteads. Holy cow, man. Thank you. Guess what? Tomorrow we have a members live. So any of the members, tomorrow we have a members live at 12:15 p.m. Central Time. And just so you know, the Rocksteads actually get one-on-one sharpenings if you ever want to take advantage of it. I set up a camera, you set up a camera, and then I can watch you and you can watch me and we can sharpen together to help you out in any way I can. I know the one guy who did take advantage of it, he was able to get the best edge he had ever been able to get up until that point. So I was very happy that he was able to do that. And it did come out really good. It's a little different, you know, when you have somebody looking at you and say, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you're doing wrong. You know, you got to do this, you know. Knives are just like everything else in life. You pay for what you get. The good stuff costs more money. That's true. Absolutely true. I do think there is, though, a price range, like a universal price range that is like where it's going to be the best, right? Meaning you're going to get the most for your money, but not overspend, right? Like say if I said a $400 knife, you're probably overspending at that point, right? Meaning if you're just looking for a good knife. But if you're looking for a super good knife with a good heat treat, good materials, good lock, all that stuff, it's probably going to be, you know, between $100 and $200. So I think we can agree, you know, at like around the $200 price range. After that, probably over $250, that's when you get diminishing returns. But up into about $250, it just goes up. The things go up from the quality, the fit, the finish. But you could even argue up to $400 too, because you're not getting a fucking Reat, right? And I mean, I'm talking about like high level Reat quality, you know, for $150 from anywhere that I can think of. Even the companies that are close to it, like, you know, are almost there, there's still details that make something like Reat just superior in every way. Let me scroll down. Alex Knives and Such is another new member. Thank you, man. Appreciate the support. Like I said, tomorrow we do have a members live. Has Jared told the felony story? Well, just so you know, in the lives, I've actually told the story many times. I actually do story time at 9 o'clock. And in story time, I talk about my past. But no, I have not filmed the video of, I'm going to film a video in detail so that, because I know a lot of people don't watch the lives, so you know it will help everybody understand. But it's going to probably be somewhat of a long video because it's difficult to talk about without giving a little backstory. So I'm not going to go into the same details I go into in this on the lives, because in the lives I actually go into the situations and things that happened and things that were said, or you know whatever, you know, like the actual details. In the video I make, I'm just gonna, you know, just speak about it and what happened, like in different parts and different situations. But I'm gonna leave out the little details, right? Because otherwise the fucking thing would be a week long. Like even now, like when we do story time, some of the stories I tell are 30 minutes, you know, and it's just one story, obviously, right? Like when you're telling a story about something and you're in detail, you know, it's gonna be a lot longer. But I'm definitely gonna do that video. And like I said, at 9 o'clock, I always tell stories from my past. Jared got the guns and knives out tonight. Peter Flanagan says, my Chavez kickstop doesn't have the clickety clackety sound yours does. How do I fix it? It should, because when it's closing, it hits the thing. That's the clickety clackety. So when you open it, right, you open it up. When you disengage it, it's going to drop right to your thumb. And then when you let it fall, it's going to hit it. So what you need to do is just go faster with it. You'll get it. Maybe oil it up so it's a little bit smoother. That might help. Yeah. Oil it up and just keep playing with it. I don't think mine was as clickety as it is now. Just because the smoother it gets, the more clickety it gets, which is awesome. So, forgive, wait, forgive if I miss. Hello, guys. I type like I have hooves. I do too. Jared, it's crazy. I buy a new knife and just strop it, and it's a razor. Yeah, you know what? I was gonna bring some strops in here today. I was gonna actually talk about some stropping and stropping compounds and stuff because I think stropping's like obviously it's the first line of defense with your edge, right? The first line of defense is a strop. That's the way you keep your knife sharp. And to be honest, like just like you said, I sometimes buy a knife brand new and I'll pop it on the strop. Not like crazy, but give it a couple passes per side. And in some cases, man, fucking thing you're just screaming sharp. It's almost like it was the one thing it was missing. Now there are some companies that kind of over buff their edges, so like it's not a good idea to hit them on a strop. You almost want to just resharpen them, but no problem, Skipper. No problem. Guys, I have two things coming soon. And Skipper, I don't think that you went the wrong way or anything. You got a great system, but TS Prof sent me a new system I'm testing out right now. It's pretty dope. And then another company just contacted me, a pretty popular company. We all know them. They have a new budget system coming out. It's not like budget, but a little bit more affordable. And they're asked, I haven't seen it. I have no idea what it looks like, nothing. But they asked me if they could send it to me. So it sounds like it might be dope. Let's hear it, Chicago. I'm always willing to hear some stories. Wanted to be a real member for a while now and got like 4 free memberships in a row. I thought it'd be the perfect tour. Oh, dude, that's dope. That's awesome, man. I mean, I love that people are, that people actually donate those and that we have the ability to do that. So, Savivi Sakoki, that's next. So, that was the next one I was going to talk about. So, the Sakoki, it has to go on the list, right? You can't get the only micarta I can think of that's at this level was CJRB's micarta that's USA micarta. I don't know if this is USA stuff. I would imagine it is. I know the stuff from CJRB is, but yeah, this is hard to beat as far as ergonomics, cutting performance, action, all the details. Like this thing, they knocked everything out of the park. Even the clip inset with flat screws. There's nothing under there. It's super smooth and out of the pocket, reversible. The ergos are super neutral, so it doesn't matter if you're cutting straps or utility cuts, but it has a quality feel to it. And that's another thing that or one reason why I do take off, like say some Sativians, right? The reason why Sativians don't make the list in many cases, well, in many cases, they're so cheap that, and you can kind of understand it because of the price range they're at. But the reason why is because they're a little bit rough around the edges in some cases. Some cases, like there's just a little details. It's like this wasn't finished enough, or this could have used a little bit more effort or something. Do you know what I mean? So, but when you grab something like this, you're looking it over, looking for something to nitpick and bitch about, but it's like you get nothing. And then, you start using it and you realize how solid it is. And that's the way this cubit's been too. Like I honestly thought, because I'm always worried about button locks. I don't know what it is about me. Yeah, and I'm taking it seriously tonight, Z-Baird. Very seriously. I don't know why, but it makes me feel some type of way button locks. Like I felt like this for a while. And the reason why was because I had a few button locks back in the day that I used like a lot. And every single one of them got lock rock. Every single one of them. So I always felt like button locks just always will eventually get lock rock, right? That's what I thought. Just eventually, it's just the way it goes. Now I do know the trick, right? And I've made videos on it that if you're button lock gets lock rock, you can easily fix it, right? But I'm saying unfixable lock rock, which usually you can fix. All you gotta do is stretch the spring. You take the spring out from the button and stretch it. But there's other button locks that are on, other different types of locking systems that aren't a plunge lock. But anyways, like I keep saying, Civivi's doing a really good job with theirs. They have figured it out. I have not an ounce of anything out of this thing. And I have fidgeted with it. I probably opened it 7,000 times. Daniel Cad, where the hell have you been? Jared and the Beater. Good evening, family. Miss everyone. Been running hard the past few weeks. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. You got to work, man. You got to work, and you want to stay busy. So it's all good. We're always here for you, brother. We're always here. Glad to see you're okay. The gunny juice you recommended works great. It does. That's the best. Do I have some right here? Yeah, I got 12 microns sitting right next to me. Look at that. Yeah, gunny juice is the best. You can't beat it. Gunny juice. It's definitely, and thank you again, Cad, for the 5 bones. I do appreciate it. But yeah, it's my most recommended. And it's not even just like, yes, it works really good. So of course it works really, really good. And that's one reason why I love it so much, but also applying it is so easy. I've went through so many, like even now, I have some pastes and stuff, and like some stuff in like syringes that you squirt out and you scrape, and it's just a mess. You gotta wait like 30 hours for it to dry in some cases, maybe not quite that long, but it just winds up becoming a mess. And then when you first use it, sometimes they're oily, but this stuff is just put it on, wipe it on, it dries almost instantly, and then you're just good to go. Good to go. Start stropping. I missed out on the death cookies. They only made 50. What the frick? I don't know what the death cookies are. I'd love to hear the story on what made you decide to start YouTube and how it changed your life. Well, maybe, I mean, I might be able to pass that in for story time instead. Maybe we'll switch that for story time. My other story time was Accidental Fugitive. Daniel Cad with another 5 bones. I have a gamble project. I thought you were about to tell us you had a gambling problem. A gamble project going on. 2 weeks to complete. Don't finish. Don't get paid. Finish, get paid 25K. Yeah, you better finish that shit. Stay on that shit. I know yeah, I'd be all over it. And I know what you mean, man, because I've worked construction my whole life, and I've definitely been on jobs where it's like, yeah, the only way you're getting paid is to finish the job, obviously, right? Well, we always did half down, half on completion, but still, though, the half down in many cases just covered your costs, in some cases. The Wii Subjugator, awesome knife, awesome knife. I haven't shown that in a video lately, and I have a lot of knives that I just haven't shown in videos lately because I have a lot of new stuff, and I have a lot of new stuff even right now, like stuff you guys haven't even seen. And I got a couple knives over there that are going to change. That are absolutely going to change the best budget knife list. So, but there's some bangers coming. I got some bangers already here. But I do have some videos planned where I'm going to bring out some of the stuff that's been out for a little bit that a lot of us have that are really good, and maybe face them against some of the other stuff. We'll see how it goes. Any chance you can help me get a good secondhand TS Prof system? My other one I gave away. I did have another one, and I gave it away to, I think, one of the members. So, the only place I can think of is on eBay or something, because they usually don't go up for sale. Most people that get them, they keep them because they're valuable. And once you have one, like, it's one of those things where you're like, man, I'm so glad I spent that money. That at first you're looking at like fucking $400 or 500, however much, the one you're looking at is you're looking at like, damn, it's so much money. But then after you get it 6 months, a year later, you're like, man, I'm so happy I spent that money. because you're getting them crispy edges. You don't have a dull knife. You know what I mean? And not even that, like, you can also sharpen other people's knives. You'll have neighbors asking you to sharpen their knives and pay you money and shit. Traditional pocket knives is having a good sale on QSP exclusive titanium penguins. No shit. Awesome. Very cool. Definitely check them out. Um, Everyone get in on that jet stream and help knives fast. I haven't checked that one out. I'm sure it's dope, but yeah, go check it out. I haven't tried it. So, I've got the 3 CJRB button locks that have vertical play. I'm so sick of button locks. Wish they do these cool designs and bolster locks or something. Well, try a Civivi. Try a Civivi or a Sencut. They, like I said, all theirs are solid. At least all the ones I've tried, and I've tried probably a dozen. Um, Try theirs. And listen, if you have vertical play, Shepherd, do what I said. Take it apart, take your spring out and stretch your spring. Depending on how much play there is, you might have to stretch it a little bit more. You can also replace the spring, and they're easy to replace. There's a company right now, right in the USA, that sells button lock parts. You can get it in like 3 days for and like cheap too, like $3 or something like that, maybe even less because it's just a little spring. I don't trust button locks. I have a few, but not a big fan. You know, I trust them in the sense of just using them as a pocket knife. I don't trust them obviously in hard use situations. Now, I do have a couple somewhat hard use button locks, like my Freeman. My Freeman is considered a hard use knife, and that's a button lock. And theoretically, let's be clear, theoretically, a button lock has the potential to be very strong. See, this is where we're mistaken just a little bit because we have some companies that didn't do a button lock to their highest potential and they failed so easily. So then we think button locks fail easily, but that's not true. Just like liner locks, right? I've had liner locks, I tap the spine and it fails, right? Does that mean all liner locks fail like that? No. Same thing with frame locks. I've had frame locks to do it. Or crossbar locks. I've had crossbar locks that'll literally fail from a smack. But I have another one that'll hold 200 pounds. So it is about the lock face geometry. So certain button locks, like even like think about Protex, all their automatics, those are all button locks. Protex, the Freeman, there's a lot of hard use and very tough button locks, but they do their plunge grinds right. Or sorry, not plunge grinds. Their plunge locks right. So when the lock is being pushed, this is the lock, is being pushed by a spring, right, into a section in the tang, it has to go directly into it and make it to where it's hitting a flat surface rather than a beveled surface. And what happens is the reason why some of them slip is because they're beveled right here. They're beveled a little bit. And so then it just slips out rather than it being straight cut perfectly flat. Well, the good ones are done like that. So don't paint them all with the same brush as some, because the same thing like all locks. Some companies are not going to do it as good as others. I see we have a Donny coming in, so I'm going to scroll down. If you guys said anything you guys want me to see it, just repeat it. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. James K with the 5 bones. I also don't trust button locks. I had one that I left at home and it stole my car. Liner locks only for me from now on. I'd understand if that happened. But yeah, I think I've always had it in the back of my head because of some button locks. But like I said, when I've really thought about it and really broke it down like I just did, it makes sense. It's just who's doing it, who's making it, because I have some button locks that I do trust. I trust a lot, like to do heavy shit with. But then I have some that I wouldn't trust for nothing. Like I wouldn't even want to stab them into something. So it just depends. And I think, like I said, if we're talking about for a budget, I think they're doing probably the best job. Civivi, Sencut. Is that Cubit in Is that Cubit a Elementum handle? No, not at all. No, they're nothing. I have the button lock Elementum here, and they're very different. This is shorter. The width is different. The width this way and this way. It's smoother. As far as the little one goes, it's more narrow. This is a little bit broader. So the handle is broader this way or this way, which makes it a little bit more ergonomic. It's more ergonomic than the Elementum, than the regular Elementum, by far, by far. So much more comfortable. Locks only hold the blade open. You are the actual safety factor when using any knife. It's true. But we want to be able to do certain things. Like, say if like one thing that's always scary, right? When you stab something into something, why is it scary? Well, and I've seen this happen. Where it's, did I miss a donate? Dukes. Oh, thank you for the 2 bones. I read that, but I don't know. Anyways, thank you. When you stab it into something, there's the potential the lock slips and it closes on you when you stab. So you want to make sure when you stab, what I do is I make sure I stab and the pressure goes to the stop pin. So I stab like this. I don't stab straight down like this where the pressure goes this way. Where it goes this way, I don't do that. I make sure the pressure goes this way. So the pressure always goes towards the stop pin. Now I've seen it where I've stabbed something and it failed. So always be careful when stabbing. That can definitely make a lock slip. Shout out to Stasa23 in the house. Definitely go and subscribe to his channel. And also go subscribe to Q Ball's channel too. He recently started a channel. He's got some good content over there too. Were you gonna say something about 14C? Yes, I am. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, we're gonna talk about verses. I want to talk about 14C versus 154. I'm intrigued with your opinion and also about Nitro V. Well, we'll throw Nitro V in that bucket too. Why haven't you shown more love on Tucson's? I'll tell you why. So I feel like they left me. I didn't leave them. So there's a couple reasons. One, so without bullshitting, okay, so I was in contact with the company. I was in contact with them, and I was able to get them for a pretty good deal. They're selling them to me for a really good deal, as long as I bought a few of them at a time. So I was buying like 4, 5, 6 of them at a time for a really, really good deal, like $50 a piece. Like, and to me, that was great because on eBay, I'd pay like 80 to 100 a piece, right? And we did that for a little while. And everything was all good, like when I'd ask for certain ones, they'd take a while to get here, but since I was paying such a good price, I didn't really care. Then he came back and he wound up raising the price like crazy on me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it didn't make any sense. And and before that, I had always bought all of mine from eBay or on Amazon or whatever, right? I only did this deal with them like 3 times. But then the last time he raised the price like astronomically, like, and I was like, fuck that. There ain't no way I'm paying that. That doesn't even make sense. I might as well just buy him off the thing. So it kind of pissed me off that it's like he didn't see the benefit in, it going on the channel or anything. And it almost was like he was taking advantage of me or something because he thought like I would just pay it, or something. I don't know what he was thinking. But then that wasn't the thing that really tipped me over. The thing that kind of tipped me over was I got like 6 in a row that were shitty. Maybe one was good and the rest was shitty. It seemed like every one I got, I was disappointed in. And after I had been so happy with so many of them, it was very disappointing. So it made it to where I'm not positive when I spend my money if it's going to be money well spent. I can't return it. Like there's just like things wrong. Like they don't have a good warranty. They're in China. Like it makes it difficult. They don't have any USA locations or anything, so they can't help you. Yes, I had direct contact with them, but for me to recommend them, right? Like it doesn't matter if I can contact the company if nobody else can. Like that doesn't help anybody. I have to be able to contact them as easily as you guys, and vice versa. So because they were crappy, it made it to where like right now, if I recommended a Cubit, I can pretty much guarantee everybody's going to get the same thing I got. But I couldn't do that with Tucson. Like it started becoming where it's like, you know, certain models, like I love the way they look, but then I get them and it's like hit or miss. And when they miss like big time. And I seen a bunch of knives that should have never left the factory, multiples. So it made it to where now, yes, there's still some that I recommend because I've handled a bunch of that version and I know they do it well. But as far as their new ones go, like, yes, I always want to get them on the channel. I'm just not willing to spend the money and wait a month or two to find out it's a piece of shit. So, and just, you know, it's just kind of a weird situation. Yeah, I have gotten a couple shitty ones where I had to modify myself. The QC has gone to shit. Sadly, they have a ton of potential. They have a ton of potential. And that's another thing, doctor. That's another thing that's pissed me off is how much potential they're just letting slip through their hands. It's as if they don't care. And I don't think they do. I really don't. And that's what aggravates me. They have some designers, some really, really good designers. Then they have these fantastic designs, and some of them are knocked out of the park, so you can see where their potential is. But then you see them slacking on these other ones, so it's like, what happened, right? But then they're not trying, and I mean, like, they don't contact knife reviewers, right? They don't really do anything on Instagram. Like, have you ever talked to them on Instagram? Like, and have they ever commented on your posts or anything or reposted your shit? No. So it makes it to where they're so separated from the community, you don't feel like they're actually a part of the community. Nobody can put a face to them. Nobody has, you know, any idea. It's like, so they don't really participate. And I don't like that because I thought that they were going to get to that point. I thought that they had just started, and over time we would see them grow and grow and grow. And I even said that if you watch my videos from 2-3 years ago, I would say that, like, these guys are doing really good. It seems like they're because their knives were getting better. Then all of a sudden it was just like it just sunk. So, and then I felt like that they just gave up. Like, they don't care. They're just like, make it, push it out, sell it. Like, when designers make knives, I doubt they even get prototypes. I really feel like that. I don't think they do. And that's why I think some of them shit the bed. I think some of these designers are getting their knives from them and there's no prototypes or nothing. They just make them and run with it. um, no updates yet on my knife design. No updates yet. As soon as I know something, I'll give you guys some info. Plus two sons runs. They're still way too soft. They do. Their steel's way too soft. Way too soft. Thank you, James K. And yes, I do. So 14C versus 154 CM. And if you guys left a comment that I did not see, just leave it again. I'm sorry if I missed any of your comments. I'm going to try to start at Bob Smith when I restart, but 154 CM versus 14C. So first off, I'm going to say which steel is the better steel and which one I like more, because that's two different answers. So the better of the two steels is going to be 154 CM as far as edge retention goes. If you all you care about is edge retention, 154 CM will outcut 14C in most cases, right? Not all, but most. But if you care about other factors like I do, then 14C might be your favorite. So I like 14C better than 154 CM because of the types of edges it takes. So 14C, like we were talking about earlier, was developed for very thin geometry knives. So it also means that it does very well at low angle edges. I like low angle edges. I love a nice big edge bevel at a low angle, but the steel has to have the stability to do that. Otherwise, what happens is yeah, it gets super sharp, but then it just microchips to hell. Well, 14C does really good like that. It does really good at low angle edges. Obviously, there's still a point of which, you know, it won't, but for the most part, it does really good. And then it also does good with super fine grits. Like if you want a mirror polish, if you want a toothy edge, medium grit edge, it doesn't matter. 14C does good with it all. Any grit, it doesn't matter. As long as it's heat treated well. But then that's the next thing. 14C is also very easy for companies to heat treat because it was made to be mass produced. So going back to 154 CM, 154 CM, while it has better edge retention, it does not take as good of edges as 14C. I'm not saying it takes bad edges. Don't get me wrong. 154 CM, some of the sharpest knives I have right now in my collection of 154 CM, they take a fantastic medium grit edge, but it's not a steel you really want to polish, and it's not a steel that's going to take as fine of an edge as 14C. Next thing is while it is, I think, easy for companies to heat treat, and I don't think it's hard. At least I've never really felt really bad 154 CM, but I've definitely seen some variations a little bit. And I don't think we see as much in 14C. Obviously, there's going to be different HRCs, but anyways, and then stain resistance and toughness. So 14C is a lot tougher than 154 CM. Now, it's not that 154 CM is weak; it's not weak, but what 14C is like one of the toughest steels on the planet. So because it's so tough, that's another reason why its edge stability is so good. So if I was going to verse them, for me personally, I would take 14C because of the type of edges it takes. While 154 CM will outcut it, it's not going to outcut it enough to take a to fill in the things I like more about the 14C. So it's not gonna, like, say if it's 20 feet. Let's say it's 20, 30 feet of cardboard. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, right? If it cuts 30 feet more of cardboard, I personally would care more about the type of edge it's going to take, how well it's going to sharpen, and also how well it responds to stropping. Because that's another thing I didn't even bring up. 14C is even more responsive to stropping than 154 CM. 154 CM strops back really good too. So it's kind of hard to even debate that because they both do strop back so good. So it's kind of tough to even say that, but I feel like 14C strops back a little bit better. That might also be because I put lower angle edges on my 14C. So when you have lower angles, it's finer at the apex. So stropping, it responds easier to low angle edges because there's less steel for the stropping compound to chip away at. Because remember, a stropping compound is basically, it's a microscopic abrasive over a surface, and when you drag your edge across it, those microscopic abrasives are chipping away at your apex, making saw teeth. So that's why I would pick 14C, but under recommendations, right? If somebody was asking me, I think 154 CM would probably serve some people even better, in some cases, but they are, they're both priced very well. So that's the beautiful thing, is that these steels are awesome steels, and we can get them for a great price. And in most cases, a lot of people don't even need to go above that. Like, they do just fine. Like, think about our granddads and everything used 440, right? What do you think will become the next D2 in the knife market? 14C. I think 14C, and oh yeah, and the Nitro V. I said I'd speak about Nitro V. So Nitro V too. So Nitro V and 14C, think of them as the same thing. They're not the same steel, but they have a lot of similarities. Like, everything I said about 14C, I'd say the exact same thing about Nitro V. They're very, very similar. So you can literally replace everything I said about 14C and just put it on Nitro V. And that's why, like, when I test 14C and Nitro V, I almost don't see any difference. Maybe other people do. I personally, just for the most part, I don't notice anything different. And if there is subtle differences, it's subtle. But I think 14C is going to be the next D2 because I think people love it. I think that people love how easy it is to sharpen and that it holds a good edge. Now, it's not the longest lasting edge, but it drops back so easily. And if I asked you, which one would you rather have, right? And really ask yourself this: would you rather have a steel that you could strop back 4 to 5 times, or a steel that has very long lasting edge retention, but it's not going to strop back, right? Now, the steel that you could strop back 4 or 5 times, you could potentially get even more edge retention out of that edge, seeing that you can strop it back over the other edge, even though the other edge won't need a stropping. It'll just last that long, but it's way more expensive, right? It's way more expensive, and it takes twice as long to sharpen. So these are all little factors that play a part. And 14C is so easy to sharpen. You can sharpen it in the field. It doesn't really matter what stones you have. You sharpen it on any stone. It's not a high carbide steel. So, excuse me, I've been trying to decide between the VOSTEED Nightshade and 154 CM or the CJRB Echo Liner Lock. Which one of the two seems more practical for everyday use? Both of them. So I did make a mistake on my video I did the other day with the top 15 favorite knives. I forgot I left out the VOSTEED Nightshade with the crossbar lock. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. But I would say that knife is so practical. It looks weird when you look at it, but its weirdness is what makes it so damn practical. And if you had it in your hand, you'd realize just how damn useful that knife is. But the CGRB Echo is a sheep's foot. So a sheep's foot's always going to be very, very useful. I would say you really can't go wrong with both. You'd probably be happier with the Echo. It's a little bit more fidget friendly, but it's also a button lock. You know, the Nightshade's a liner lock, unless if you get the crossbar lock version. So I guess it depends then. I can wait for a while. Wait, I can wait for a while. Up to you though. I don't want to get too. I like my toothy edges. I test my sharpening on dry, wet towels made of cotton. If they cut clean without the cotton fluffing up, I'm satisfied. Yeah, my favorite edge is a medium grit edge. My favorite edge of all edges is a medium grit, 600 grit. That's my favorite. But I like the ability to choose. I don't, and it's not that because I mean, I have every steel. Like, so I love all steels, and I love all steels for what they do. Like 154 CM, the fact that it doesn't take a mirror polish edge, I love it because it doesn't. Like, I love that it takes such a great medium grit edge, and it takes it with so much bite. Like, the teeth on 154 CM is amazing. So, you know, I like versatility too, though. I also love a good mirror polished edge. But yeah, if your knife or your edge, sorry, if your edge can cut paper towel cleanly, yeah, you got a sharp edge. Got another Moyaro, and it had a little burnt edge, but I put a pretty mean 600 to 800 grit edge on it. Yeah, you know, that's common. It's pretty common. You know, luckily 14C for the most part is very easy for companies to heat treat, so you're pretty much guaranteed the heat treat's going to be fine. But if you do have some issues, it's most likely just some burnt steel. Just, you know, sharpen it once or twice, it should be good. Elicourt says, we showed up today during Ganzo's live stream at Blade Runner HQ today. Last 5 minutes of his last 5 minutes of his live stream has the knives I have on loan from Dirk Wierning. Oh, Gonzo's. I read that wrong. Gonzo's live stream. I read it as Ganzo's. I was like, Ganzo went live? Nitro V is a great steel, but it's looked at as a budget steel because CVV uses it. Right. And like I said, you know, like same thing like with 14C. I know we look in 154 CM, we look at those as budget steels, but they're just an affordable steel. Nitro V is a phenomenal steel. I love Nitro V, just like I love 14C. And you know, when you're talking about some of these steels, always separate customs from production. Always, 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 always. The steel you're going to get from a custom maker is going to be superior to a production steel. So when you think about it, you know, and like when we got those when she got those customs made from or here's a good analogy. The Chef Kalari, Steve Kalari made me that blade, an AEBL at 63.8 HRC. If I got that knife from a production company, it'd be like 58 HRC, 57 HRC. Probably maybe even like, yeah, 56, 57 HRC. Seriously. So it's so amazing. I'm not even the biggest fan of AEBL, at least on folding knives. I'm fixed blades and kitchen knives. I love it. But on folding knives, I'm not the biggest fan. But if it was that, I'd take it all day on a folding knife. Todd, but what? I'm looking at the chat. I'm not up to date. I'm catching up. Chicago, thank you for the 2 bones. There is no 299 bones. What? I was answering yes. All right. I'm scrolling up. Kara's screaming at me because I'm so backed up. Rini, thank you for the 2 bones. Kara keeps posting a video for me to watch. A video? I don't see it. Yeah, but I have to go. I can't do it on here. No, I can't. Why? Do you have the saved history? Just tell. Okay, then just hang on. I'll find it. Which one? Extreme chopping. All right, hang tight, guys. We gotta watch this video. This one. You guys see that? Let me get rid of this. All right, here we go. Ready, set.
The spinning belt of knives. Tired of cutting stuff by hand? Just pull up the frame to your waist, and then you've got 8 super sharp carving knives ready to attack your salad. Arms in, flick the switch, ignore the terrifying sounds of 8 blades whipping past your lips, then just out there, try and catch and fold, mind your fingers.
Mind your fingers.
Like and subscribe for more epic and crazy inventions. Introducing...
I accidentally kicked myself out. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that was funny. Does mirror polish take longer than toothy because of progression, or are you taking longer on the 600 with toothy? So yes, mirror polish always takes longer because of the progression, because you're using more stones, and then you also have to use more. You have to use more effort on more stones. So it's as you're going through your coarse stones, you have to spend a little bit more time and make sure you get out all your previous scratches. So like when you get to 800 grit, if you went from 600 to 1,000 grit, your 1,000 grit stone, you got to make sure you get all the scratches out with that 1,000 grit. But if you're going from 300 to 600, I mean, yeah, you want to make sure you get all the 300 grit scratches out. But if you don't get every single one of them out, it's not a big deal because you can't tell, like you can't see the difference, right? But in a mirror edge, if you don't get that 300 grit scratch out in a mirror edge, you'll see it and it won't be a mirror edge. So it always takes longer to do a mirror edge, yes. And mirror edges always do best with low angles, low angle edges. You really don't want to do a mirror edge with a high angle edge because they're too obtuse, they're too blunt. And what happens is that the teeth are they're not fine enough to feel sharp, and what happens is they get slick really, really quick. So if you do a high angle edge with a mirror polish, it'll get slick. People are too focused on what steel they have on their knife rather than how it has been heat treated. You could get a budget knife with a super steel that is outperformed by a good 1095. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've done it. I've seen it. Shit, I've actually outcut some super steels with 14C. Just because I even and I've talked about this before, and I'm not trying to beat them up for it or anything, but ZT, with their S35, that shit was some of the worst steel I've ever experienced. And it just was impossible. It wouldn't even hold an edge. It wouldn't even take an edge, let alone hold an edge. And then I've dealt with it a lot of other times. Like I've had some off the wall, who the fuck knows their name, M390 steels from some weird company that they couldn't cut as long as 14C, but it was just dog shit soft. Like you could tell, like when you put it on the stone, you can feel it, you can tell. And like especially when you bring up a burr and you try to remove a burr, if that burr won't stop flipping back and forth, especially on M390 or 20CV, it's soft. M390's burr, when it's hard and it's done well, it pops off easily. Like it pops right off. Like, you maybe flip it back and forth 2 or 3 times and then it just snaps off. It doesn't do this shit back and forth. And this is the burr. I'm like acting like my hand is the burr right now. Hopefully you guys understand that analogy. Probably looking weird over here. Any extensive use with LC200N? Been reading that edge retention similar to 14C, but some say they're more like S30V. Haven't used it enough to tell. It's not as good as S30V. I would say it's like 154 CM. Well, you could say 14C. It's between like 14C, 154 CM. VG10 style, you know, like right around, it's right around that area, right? But yeah, it's not S30V though. It can't do as good as S30V. S30V will definitely outcut it. You know, S30V will outcut S35. S35 yen, they're very close, but S30Vs, and technically, this goes back to good heat treated steels. If you take a good heat treated S30V and a good heat treated D2, good D2 is going to outcut S30V, but we never see it because we always see production D2, right? Which is far different than a custom D2. And the problem with it is that now we all paint everything with that same brush. Like once, like, so when the overseas companies were doing thousands of knives in D2 and all it with shitty heat treatments, they're not shitty. Some of them were just, some of them were shit, some of them were good, but not at the potential that D2 is supposed to be at. We paint all D2 with that same brush and we expect all D2 to be the same when it is absolutely not. D2 is one of the steels similar like M390 where, you know, it can be all over the board depending on who's doing it and how they're doing it and everything. How long does it take to get a burr with the Curie stones and how much pressure do I use? Using 14C and HRV. It depends on the geometry. So thicker the geometry, the longer it's going to take. There's really no time because it just depends. Like it's kind of like this. If I asked you, how long would it take you to sharpen a stick, right? Like you'd ask me, well, how big is the stick, or how thick is the stick? Because if it's a stick this big, it's gonna be really quick. If it's a stick this big, it's gonna take you a while, right? Well, that's the same thing with sharpening, depending on how thick the edge is. But I would say, you know, it shouldn't take too long, as long as it's not thick. But if it's a thick edge, it's gonna take a little while. That's just the way it goes. So it just depends on the thickness. It's hard to say. If you tell me the knife, I can probably tell you, I can give you a good idea, but also there is user, right? How good are you holding your angle? Are you holding it well? Are you raising your angle? Are you fluctuating angle? All those things. If you can hold a solid angle and hold it firmly without going up and down, you know, holding a perfect angle, then you'll be able to do it a lot faster than otherwise. I've been thinking about getting the Valona, but I like the Moyaro. Which one do you think? I like the Moyaro a little bit more, but if you like big knives, then go with the Valona. The Valona is a lot bigger. So they're both great knives. They're both super solid, fantastic knives, but I like the Moyaro just a little bit more. I like the reverse flick, and I don't know. I just like it a little bit more. But the Valona is a fantastic knife, but it's a big son of a bitch. Big, big, big. It's like 9 inches. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for the tips, bro. You the man. No problem, Bobby. Do you have any knives you won't use because you don't want to sharpen them? I got a couple rock studs that I don't want to sharpen because if I sharpen them, I'm going to have to sharpen an edge bevel on them, and they are a 0 ground convex. That doesn't mean I won't use them. I'll use them. I'm just not doing my best to beat the fucking shit out of them. You know what I mean? I have plenty of knives. I have more than enough knives to cut stuff with. So I don't really need to take a $2,000 knife that is just absolutely beautiful, that was a gift, that I'll use, right? I'll use, but I'm not going to go drag it across concrete like I will some other knives. So yeah, those rock studs. Anything else, I'm pretty much don't care, but I do not want to sharpen those. Let me be clear. I want to sharpen the rock studs. I do. I just hate the thought of taking a 0 ground convex and putting an edge bevel on it. Although Rockstead does have some knives, which I have experienced, with edge bevels. So, and if I sent it back to them, that's probably what they would do. They probably just throw an edge bevel on it. I'm not positive on that. Maybe they would just, I don't know. I don't know what they would do. But if I do it, I'm going to have to put an edge bevel on it because I can't do a mirror polished convex to 0 grind. Hey, do you use your Venive stones dry for TS Prof? No, I use soapy water on mine. I take dish soap and water in a mix that when you shake the bottle, you stop hearing the suds or the water go back and forth. So the bubbles should expand so much that you don't hear it shaking anymore. You ever shook a bottle and you'll hear it shake at first, and then like the bubbles will expand, and then you'll stop hearing it shake. When you get to that point, then you know you have enough. But yeah, soapy water is what I use. And then if you have a Nagura stone, have a Nagura stone, they're only like $5 or something. Have a Nagura stone sitting next to you, because what you can do is in between edges and sharpening, you can just hit it really quick with the Nagura and it'll bring out the diamonds, and it'll work like twice as good as if you don't do it. So that will help you keep your Venives going strong for a long time. And then eventually, if you need to flatten them, you can, but you most likely won't have to flatten them for a long time if you have that Nagura. Like I flattened mine a couple times, but I've used them so much. But the Nagura stone definitely helps. I had the Rockstead Heisen, which had an edge bevel. Right. I've seen one. I actually had one. I didn't own it, but I had one here that had an edge bevel. I sharpened it freehand, and it actually was pretty easy, though. I didn't take it back up to the full polish, just 1200 grit or so. Yeah, and listen, if it was an edge bevel on mine, I would have no problem doing it. And when I do eventually sharpen my one, I'm gonna just do an edge bevel, and I'm gonna do a mirror polished edge bevel probably. And I'll make sure it's fucking beautiful. But it still takes away that zero grind. You know what I mean? So, and eventually I want to sharpen it, because I've sharpened a ton of ZDP 189 at 67 HRC, and I love sharpening ZDP 189. ZDP takes, there's a reason why Rockstead uses it. You know, at that HRC, it takes an incredibly sharp edge. And it's almost like glass when you first start sharpening it. Neeves, what? You talking to me? Neeves, I'm struggling to find max ace knives like Red Queen 3, Zircon, and the Persian. What do you do to find that aren't in production anymore? So one thing, Derek, is they do have some coming soon. I don't know about those exact models, but they have the Titanus and a couple other models that they're in the process of making right now that'll be hitting the market eventually. I don't know when, probably a couple months or something, or a few months maybe. I don't know, but they are coming back with some. Now they're going to be limited. I do think they did like some sort of, I don't know, some sort of pre-order. I don't know if it was a pre-order or people just were on an email list or what, but they told me that they have a bunch already gone, like already in like taken. So there's only going to be so many when they do come. Now, as far as older models that are discontinued, it's just whether or not they make them or not. The only place you can get them is like NAF sale. I go to NAF sale, look around on there. They pop up sometimes on there, and then eBay, things like that. Or what you could do is go on Instagram and find somebody who has one and offer them money for it. And people do that to me all the time. Shit, I just did a deal. I want to tell you guys about it. It's in that box right there. You guys see underneath this thing right here. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, because otherwise, even though I know you guys will still watch the video, I'm still not going to show it to you. But I got something in this case I'm very, very excited about. I've been trying to get one of these for a very long time. And I know some of you probably already got thoughts in your head and know what it is, if you guys know what I just said about trying to get one for so long, but finally got one. It's going to be a good time. Not a Glock 45. Nope, not a Glock 45. I definitely wouldn't show you guys that. I'm OCD about cleaning stones. Venives, I rinse water and soft brittle bristle brush after each use. Barkeeper's Friend every 5 knives, flattening every 25. So I use Barkeeper's Friend too. That's what I used to use, but with the Nagura stone, you don't really have to. The Nagura stone basically does the same thing. So what I do is I use the Nagura stone for so long, and then when it gets to a point to where I'm using the Nagura stone constantly, you know, and I feel like the diamonds are just wearing down so fast, like they're not staying there, then I'll throw them on the silicone carbide powder, and I have a glass plate, and I flatten them, and I reflatten them all the way down to perfectly flat. So now they're like brand new again. And then I can go back to just using the Nagura. That's what I do now. Like I've went through different things, you know, depending. But she is so loud out there. Holy shit. I got a Japanese synthetic Nagura that I use on my Venives since it's completely flat. It works like a charm. Yeah, they do. They work great. You can use any aluminum oxide stone. You can use like any $10 fucking aluminum oxide stone. The Nagura stones are nice because they're a little block and they're tall. So like it's great to like cup in your hand. But I have big stones that I've used. I literally used to take my old $10 aluminum oxide water stones and I would bring them up to the sink and I would just use those. And they work great. So you can use just about anything. Just don't use diamonds. Never use diamonds on diamonds. Always use aluminum oxide on diamonds. Do that sharpening live. Oh, the Rockstead? Maybe. Maybe I will. Shouldn't have to be QC at the retail level, but oh well. Yeah, maybe I should do that. That would be a good one. I don't know though, because that'd be a tough one to do live. I don't think I could do it live because I'm going to be so focused. I won't be talking. Like when I go live, because remember tomorrow we have a Neeves night or a Bang Gang live sharpening. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do yet, but we're going to do something obviously. But I'm trying to talk and focus and communicate the whole time. So my edges don't come out as perfect as they do when I'm alone, right? When I'm just focused on the knife, nothing else, obviously, right? But not that they're bad or anything. They come out still really, really good. But with the Rockstead, you know, maybe I'll just record it. I love SE knives and I want an SE3 and S35, but how much harder to sharpen this S35 than 1095? It's not much harder. So S35 Yen's an easy steel to sharpen. That steel's still made to be sharpened in the field. I would say you're not even going to notice that much of a difference. The thing is that's going to take a long time is just the thickness. SE's edges are thick. So put it this way. I could give you the hardest steel to sharpen. I mean, like Rex 121, right? If I give you Rex 121 with this knife, right, you're going to be able to sharpen it faster than if I put, no, not that one, something thicker. Then if I give you this in OS 8. Right? You will sharpen the Rex 121 faster with this than you will this with OS 8 or 8CR. The reason why is because of the geometry. This is like 3 times the thickness behind the edge than that is. So it's going to take a lot longer to sharpen. Geometry is the number one factor with time when sharpening. It's not the steel. It's not the type of steel. It's not the steel. It's the abrasive you're using and the thickness. You must start with a coarse stone or extra coarse. Never start with a medium grit. There's no point unless if you're just maintaining an edge. But if you're actually doing a sharpening, always start with the coarsest grit you can, then move to a medium grit or a little bit finer grit. But always start with something really, really coarse, something that's going to cut fast. And the thicker it is, the longer it's going to take. The thinner it is, the faster it'll be. I'm looking for a nice EDC slider. I've had my eyes on the Hogue Deca Magna Cut. Any other suggestions, or should I pull the trigger? What do you mean by EDC slider? You could go with the Hogue RSK Mini. I just got this one and I got some scales coming for it. But this is 20 CV USA made. I don't know what you meant by slider, but I think this thing would if you're looking for a Deca, they're about the same size. And that's still dope. Yeah, there's a lot of knives, man. I don't know what you meant by slider. If you meant like lightweight. If you meant lightweight, then I always recommend the Cubit, but there's a ton of knives I could recommend for that. Good question. Chicago 23 had a question. Magna Cut or Vanax? Ooh. Okay, so I would pick Vanax. Wait a second. I'd pick Vanax because it's harder to get. So Magna Cuts everywhere right now. We never see Vanax, hardly ever. I mean, I have a knife over here coming soon with Vanax, but for the most part, we don't really see it that much. I only have like 2 or 3 knives in Vanax. So I'd pick Vanax, but I've sharpened a lot of both. And I will say this, Magna Cut, man, that's tough, man. That's tough. I think Magna Cut, if it's heat treated properly, takes a little bit better edge. But that's if it's heat treated very well. Like if it's between 63 and 65 HRC, it takes an incredible sharp edge, and especially like a low angle edge, where Vanax does too, but I don't think as good. It's hard because the problem is I've never had the same knife in Magna Cut and Vanax to really compare them against the same, same thickness, same geometry, same everything. But yeah, man, that's tough, man. I'd probably pick Vanax. So I love Magna Cut though, especially 63, 64 HRC. I'm not even sure. I'm guessing Vanax would probably win an edge retention. Slightly, I'm guessing. I'm not 100% though. Does anybody know the answer to that? Who would win in an edge retention test? The Nutcracker with the 5 bones. Do you know if the heat treat on Demco's D2 is good? First serious knife was the base 20.5 D2, and I would like to feel better about price paid. Well, I don't want to burst your bubble. I'll say this. It's done in Taiwan. Taiwan will probably do a better job than some of the overseas companies, and I imagine they're going to take it a little bit more serious than a lot of the companies. And I don't want to scare you with the next thing I say, because I know it's gonna. But the first Demco I got had a shot heat treat on it. It wasn't D2 though; it was the AUS-10, and it was shot. It was complete garbage. I mean, it took like, I don't even know, a lot of sharpenings to get into decent steel. So I don't know exactly what happened with it, but it was just ridiculous. It wouldn't hold an edge and it wouldn't take an edge. And then when I created a burr, the burr was flaky. Like it wasn't like a regular burr. It was really, really weird. And I had a couple other people that had the same experience. But that got fixed. So that was the first batch. And I think I know why that happened. That happened because they were trying to rush to get the blade show so they could release them. And I think they just rushed them. But as far as yours goes, I'm sure it's fine. And like I said, D2 has the potential to be really, really good. It's just when we see these $20 knives with it, you can't compare a $20 Chinese knife to another knife that's a little more expensive. Put it this way, Benchmade's, I haven't tried their D2, so I can't really speak for it, but Benchmade's D2 that I tried, I don't know, last year or whenever, was some of the best D2 I've ever tried. I mean, that shit was fire. Like if I could get I would be recommending D2, I'd be screaming about it if it was as good as that D2. That D2 was so good. I even sharpened it up live, and I was amazed. Like it was like the burr just like you could tell it was hardened perfectly the way the burr popped off. It was great. So I don't know about theirs though. Yeah, I mean, I love them both. I think just like the Van X is more rare, so that's why I would want it. As far as like edge retention and sharpening and everything goes, I think Magna Cut might be a little superior, but it just depends on how well they're both heat treated and everything else. Edward with the 5 bones took my Sheepdog XL to 10 with a brick covered in rainwater and strapped to a mirror with my belt while I enjoyed a bottle of 20-year bourbon. Go hard. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Sipping the 20-year burb. Dave Goodridge with the 5 bones. Got to run. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate the donation. I appreciate you always coming here and hanging out with us. Benchmade uses D2. Yeah, they got it on the oh fuck, I can't even remember the name of it now. I gave it to Erica, that knife. I can't remember the name of the knife, but yeah, they use CPMD too. They still use it too. They actually have a couple other knives in it right now. I have another Benchmade, the Morpho 51 that's in D2. That knife, and then I'm sure they have a couple other models too. How's the Protex Magnum Cut? Very good. So Protec at first was doing it a little bit on the softer side, but they quickly changed it, and now it's great. I have two of their knives. I think two. I know I for sure have two. I might have more, but I have two 63 to 64 HRC, and here I'll show you my Malibu, or not my Malibu. I accidentally called the Malibu in that one video too. I feel like a dickhead. Video on Instagram, and I called it the Malibu. It's the Mordax, dumbass Mordax. But you can see this side. Look at this fucker. Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I've used it, so it's not as beautiful as it once was, but it is screaming sharp, though. Holy cow. Like, this is something. If you slip and you fuck up, you're getting cut to the bone. How often do you clean or flatten your Veneves? Thank you, Peter, for the 2 crackers. I do my Negura stone like once every couple sharpenings, once every 2 or 3 sharpenings. If it needs it, I use it. Like if I don't feel like they're cutting fast, I just scrub it because it's just a Negura stone. You just spray it with water or your soapy water and just scrub the stone really quick. It takes 10 seconds. But as far as flattening goes, I do that like once or twice a year. It just depends on how much sharpening I'm doing. If I'm doing a lot of sharpening in like a 3-month period, then I'll use it in 3 months. If I'm doing, 1 or 2, 3 sharpenings a week, then I don't have to do it every 3 months, because I'm using the Negura. But it does depend. Like if you're not using the Negura, then you're gonna have to flatten it. But as far as just using the Negura, your goal isn't to flatten it. Your goal is to knock the resin down and expose the diamonds. So the diamonds are poking out of the surface, and this is what is cutting your steel. What happens is these wear down. They wear down from sharpening and sharpening and sharpening, and then this being the resin starts coming up over the diamonds. Now the diamonds are under the surface of the resin. So now you want to knock down the resin here and expose the diamonds back up so that they can cut. That's the point of the Negura stone. And even flattening too, to some extent, but flattening actually, because sometimes they'll warp a little bit and you're trying to make them back to flat. True. But in the same process of flattening, you're gonna expose the diamonds, but you want to keep exposing the diamonds, in between sharpenings. Okay, so we do have story time coming up in 10 minutes. I did want to talk about a fragrance, but it's kind of tough because it's an expensive one. But I'll talk about it briefly, really quick. It's just so expensive. I don't even think I should talk about it. But Two Bones Jones sent it to me. It's Black Phantom by Killian, and Black Phantom by Killian. It is a coffee fragrance, so it's coffee, toffee. And it is really good, man. I'm wearing it right now. It is absolutely fire, but the price tag is high as hell. So here it is right here. It's a coffee, chocolate, rummy, woody smell. It is not like overpowering in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely one, somebody has to be a little bit close to you to smell, but it's really, really good. And I only got a test sample of it. I'm thinking about buying a big bottle of it because it is so unique. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try and find a clone of it or another company that sells something similar for a cheaper price, because this thing's like, I don't even know. Let's see how much money it is. Fragrance.net, $314 with coupon from this one. That's just absolutely absurd. You can get it cheaper than that. That's just one price, but I'm not going to spend $160 for it. So I'll see if I can find it for 120, I'd probably buy it, but I won't. It's just too crazy. But I'm going to try to find something else. Hopefully I will. Now, there's one more that I do want to talk about, and it's actually really good too. It's another one that Bones sent me. He sent me a bunch of bangers. I'll tell you what, that red tobacco, I am still loving. I am definitely going to get a big bottle of it. The and Sarah red tobacco. If you guys remember that from a couple weeks ago, I'm almost out of the sample, the big sampler that he sent me, because it was a bigger one, so you get a lot more life out of it. And I only have a few more squirts of it. I got to get a full one. That stuff is just too damn good to not get another one. It's a very masculine scent. Now, this next one I want to show you guys really quick is another sample I got, and I actually really like this one too. This one is a crowd pleaser though. This one is not. I'm gonna actually spray it really quick so I can smell it. This is a sweet. See, it's weird, the notes right here. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So the notes, it says citrus, salty, fresh. So I see the marine. I get the white floral. I get the citrus, but I don't get much amber or warm spicy, maybe a little bit of woodiness. But what it is it is a very fresh, very fresh marine fragrance with some citrus. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. It's definitely something nobody can smell and be like, that smells like crap. It's not like that. It smells good. It's very refreshing, very fresh. It's one you could wear in an office. You could definitely wear in an office and on an elevator. Everybody's gonna love it. Like it's like I said, it's crowd pleaser. It's one that it's mass appealing and affordable. So I didn't link it or anything, but if you guys want to check it out, you guys can go get a sample of it. I definitely recommend it. It's very good. It's very good. And like I said, it's one that I think everybody can enjoy. Angel's Share by Killian's is amazing, and they have a really good clone of it. Yeah, I haven't tried that one either. And yeah, I've heard that one's really good. Chuck, I've heard of it. I've seen many videos on it. I just have never ever tried it. I want to though. What hurt your love for the recall? Jared been single for a while. If it gets me a look, I'll buy it. I mean, I give a lot of recommendations. I would say if you're looking for a one and done, I wouldn't say it's that, but you know what? I think this could definitely be somebody's one fragrance for sure. So let me take that back. I do think this could be somebody's one fragrance. Now, I would say you want to get 5. And I say 5, hear me out, you fucks, hear me out, right? You wouldn't just want one knife, right? Why? Why? Because you don't want to use a butter knife to chop down a tree, right? You need more than one knife, right? A butter knife ain't going to chop down a tree, and you're not going to use your chopper to spread your butter. Same thing with fragrances. You want different types of fragrances for different reasons, different purposes. Like, you know, if you're working, you're going to want to work fragrance, something for like a daytime working in the office, if that's what you do, depending on what you do, right? If you're going out with your girlfriend or going to pick up girls, you're going to use a different fragrance. You're going to use something like a date night fragrance, like a 1 million Lucky, something like that, you know, something that's very sweet and enticing, something that makes girls want to get closer to you. I would recommend, if you're going to get one to pick up girls, you want 1 of 2 fragrances. 1 of 2. You want a fresh or a blue fragrance or a sweet fragrance. That's from a balance of probabilities. The majority of women are going to be enticed by either a blue fragrance or a sweet fragrance. And studies and tests have shown it. So yeah. And this one would be considered a fresh blue fragrance, by the way. The Kenneth Cole for him, it would definitely be, and it's cheap too. So that one's really cheap. You can get that for like $40 probably. But yeah, that one's definitely a fresh fragrance, a fresh blue fragrance. Neves, I sent you a knife to check out and review. How long would you have it? If I sent you, at least a couple weeks, at least 2 to 3 weeks. It depends on what I'm doing with it. If I'm just checking it out, just a couple weeks. if I'm like testing it and using it and stuff, maybe a little bit longer. But Chris Jones, but yeah, you can send it if you need it back fast. I can send it back fast. Chris Jones says 1 million lucky Dylan Blue Mercedes move club. Do you need every single one of those are great. The only one I would take off the list there is the Aqua di Gio. And I know people love Aqua di Gio. I do too. I really do. Trust me, I love Aqua di Gio. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. But I just feel like there's something else I could replace it with that I like more. But all the other ones he said on that list, 1 million lucky Dylan Blue Mercedes move and Club Dooney, those are all absolute bangers. You know what, Chris? If you like that Club Dooney, you're gonna love the Mancera I sent you. I sent you Mancera Cidret Boys, which is better than Club Dooney, but similar. It's a similar fragrance, but way better. The oils are better. It lasts longer. Just like the red tobacco. You know, Mancera red tobacco, how long that lasts, how good that lasts. It's like that. But with Club, you're gonna see, you're gonna love it. I gave you a good amount too. What's up, Rochambeau? Anyone else excited for their VOSTEED mayhem to pop up in their mailboxes? I'm excited to finally be able to fucking link it if it ever gets in stock. At places I can link it. Versace Porum. Yep, that's another one. That's another one. That's one that I would put in the same bucket as like this stuff. You know, it's a blue fragrance, a fresh blue fragrance that everybody will love. That's just an easy grab. It's an easy put on. Like if you're ever wondering, like, wow, what fragrance should I wear? And you don't really know, you can put that on because that'll work for any situation under the sun. So, what was the story somebody asked me to tell earlier? I forget now. Oh, why I started my channel. And how I started my channel, right? So I was going to tell a story about accidentally becoming a fugitive, but we'll go to the other one. What's a blue fragrance mean? It means a fresh shower jelly fragrance. So like, you know how like men's shower gel or men's deodorant smells? It's that type of fragrance where it's a fresh fragrance. Blue, it's just meaning fresh. It's a fresh fragrance. So there's different types of blues. So there is going to be some blue fragrances that have spices in there. There's going to be some blue fragrances that have sweetness in there. There's going to be different kinds, but the fragrance still leans towards fresh. Fresh, drier sheet smells, like I said, deodorant, shower gels, like that type of fresh. And I'm not saying it smells like those things. I'm saying that type of scent. So when you think blue, just think fresh. And also, to be honest, the most popular fragrances are blue fragrances. More people love a fresh fragrance over anything else. But when you really get into fragrances, you start loving everything else. Because there are some bangers out there. You just got to get the right stuff. Forget the knives. What shampoo do you use? You're funny. I actually use Beard Brand shampoo. Thank you very much. So, and it's lasted me like a year. I can't believe this one bottle has lasted me for like a year. I'm not going to get into that, but I do want to talk about when I started my channel, why I started my channel, how I started my channel, especially after being a fucking convict and everything. So I was working a job that I fucking absolutely hated. And I guess, I was getting over drug addiction and fighting with that for who knows, not that long, because what I did was I did the right thing. I went to a doctor, got medication and all that stuff, so I was pretty quickly on the medication and never looked back. But like I had to keep myself separated from a lot of people that I absolutely love in my life, but I had to separate myself. So I had to get engulfed in something that could capture my mind, basically, right? And I found the knife community. And the knife community was something that like I got addicted to. And I've always loved knives because I've always been in knives since I was a kid. So finding a bunch of like-minded people that also love knives really captivated me. And I started finding all these channels, and I was, next thing I know, I'm subscribed to all these knife channels. And, you know, I'm watching them every day. And the more and more I watched them, the more I wanted to start my own channel. And the more I kind of wanted to be a part of the community because I seen how tight knit it was. I seen just how awesome the community was to each other. I could see it. I could literally see people helping each other, people going out of their way to do things for each other and send each other things and helping channels out, bigger channels helping smaller channels helping bigger channels, like just the whole thing, just like how tight knit it was. And I wanted to be a part of it because I've always been a part of a very tight knit group my whole life. Like even now, like it's a tight knit group. I'll never be able to leave because it's in blood. But you know, because of that, I've always had like a brotherhood around me. Like I've always had like, you know, a bunch of tough motherfuckers around me and been able to rely on them. They've relied on me and vice versa. So I think I was just looking for a community to kind of soak into. And I found one with the knife community. And then I seen how awesome they were and I wanted to be a part of it. So I didn't think that commenting and was going to work for me personally. Like I know that obviously is just fine. Like everybody in the community is a part of it and is awesome. But I wanted to start a channel. And I think I also knew that by me starting a knife collection back up again, because I had one in the past, but I lost it and I want to, you know, starting a new one. I knew that it was so much more healthier than me thinking going down other paths, right? So because I was trying to get myself, I guess, kind of engulfed and addicted to something else, you know, I wanted to, I started buying all kinds of knives, and the next thing I know, I had a decent collection. Then I was like, you know, well, I could do this, you know. So I even though I knew nothing about YouTube, not a damn thing, I still wanted to get involved. And at first it was just for fun, but after like about a month, I really thought about it and I said if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way. Otherwise, I might as well waste my time with something else. Because that's the way my brain just works, right? Either one, go all the way, or two, do something else because you can invest this time into something else that'll be more beneficial for you. So once I realized that, you know, I planned on taking the channel seriously, but I didn't for like the first 6 months because I was working a crazy job and all this bullshit. But then I wound up back at this other job, which made it possible for me to take it seriously. And I started putting in however many hours at the job and then getting off and then putting in like 8 hours on the channel. And once I started doing that, that's when things started like really taking off and it started really benefiting me. And it started growing because, you know, just like with anything, you know, you get what you put in. If you are if half-assing something, you're going to get half-ass results, right? And because I knew that, I went in, you know, balls deep and went hard, and it eventually worked out. It took a little while, you know, but it, you know, steadily grew, you know, over time, and I'm very happy where it's at right now. I feel very blessed to, you know, for it to be. I always knew it'd be successful because, like I said, you know, I was going for that, and I wasn't going to allow it not to. And if it didn't, then I would probably go do something else, right? Because that was the point. But the community, I do feel like has kind of saved me. I feel like I owe a debt to the community. I absolutely love this community, and you know, it's definitely been here through some very dark times in my life. So it's made it where, you know, I think a lot of people do too. I don't think I'm the only one. I think a lot of people have went through some serious shit. And I've noticed, I've talked to a lot of people, so I know it. Um, Finding the community at like the best time and it saving you, you know, and it being a place for you, right? Because sometimes when we're going through some really dark shit, we're just looking for a place, you know, we're looking for some place to go that's healthy, that's better for you, that you can submerge yourself into, as long as, you know, it's not going to be a bad thing. Um, Adventure Man with the 5 bones. Was there a specific moment that really made your channel grow in the beginning that you feel was the point you knew it was going to be successful? When I decided to make it a full-time job. So I started putting full-time hours in before I ever quit my job. So that's when it started taking off. Now, there's obviously other key things that happened after that that made it even more successful and better. And we can talk about that too. But the most important thing was me devoting time. And I mean a lot of time. I was doing 16 hours a day. Um, and then when I quit my job, I didn't let off. I still did, 12 to 16 hours a day on the channel. So because I was devoting so much time, and and don't even think about it like just like recording and editing, research, right? Learning and figuring out how to edit, how to do this, just all kinds of stuff, different editing apps, and having to read them and watch them and watch videos on them, and just all the little details, right? I would devote my time into making the channel better, and like in watching other channels and say, oh, how did they do that, right? Because I didn't know how to do YouTube. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to do Instagram, let alone YouTube. So I had to learn from nothing, from no knowledge. I didn't even know how to turn a computer on. I'm not joking. You guys think I'm exaggerating, but I'm fucking serious. I literally didn't even know how to turn a computer on. So because of that, I had to learn all that. And after I devoted full-time hours into it and I went real hard in the paint, then it started giving me results a lot faster. Now, there is a point of which you can waste time. That's true. You can put in 100 hours, into something and get better results if you would put 2 good hours in. Because there is hours in, but that's where I had to learn. Like, so trust me, I was putting in hours, that overall did good, but they were wasted because I was learning, right? And that's just the way it goes, right? Like you got to learn, right? But once you kind of learn your way, you start learning little techniques and things you shouldn't have done, things you should, like what was holding you back. Like there's details like that you wind up learning along the journey that you need to stop doing or need to start doing, or and then you'll see other channels doing it and you'll think in your head like that's what's fucking their channel up, because that's how it goes. Like there's so much to it. Like people don't realize like how much there really is to it. I think it's just recording and uploading, right? Like there's a lot more to it. And not even just with editing, just with understanding the algorithm, understanding how YouTube works, understanding exactly how to get you guys to watch and like the video, and and all those things. Um I command or I commend you, brother, speaking on your struggles. You're a very strong man and a good role model for all of us. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that sincerely. And like I said, I am going to make that video. And like I said, I'm not going to break everything down like I do in the lives when I talk about my past, but I just won't have enough time. But I'll definitely break down how I became a felon and everything in a compact video that's probably like 20 minutes or something, if not longer, because it might be difficult to do it in 20 minutes. You found a community that cares about you and makes awesome content. You're proof it's never worth giving up. Yeah, no, I mean, I do think that there's, obviously, never give up, but it's tough, man. It's tough because there are some people, man, they have to do it on their own, and you have to want it. And if you want it, man, you can get it, but you got to want it. I think that's where I was, fuck, man. Even me, like thinking about it right now, like where my mental state was at the time, like there was no more going down. Like the only way down, the rest of the way down was prison for me. And that was it. So I had 2 choices. I had prison or get my shit together, and that's it. So, when those are your last 2 choices, it's so easy to make the wrong choice. I remember I had already spent years making the wrong choice. The reason why I was in that fucking place. So it's so easy to stay on that path and to not veer off. But if you can get your mind set to wanting something better and not wanting to continue, and also looking towards the future, right? Like looking at the future and saying, what am I going to be like when I'm this old? Or what, like, what would I say to myself right now if I could talk to myself at 70 years old or whatever? And if you can take your own advice from a 70-year-old version of you, then you can turn things around. But you got to fucking want it, man. You got to really want it. I'm very blessed to have so much tenacity in me. But it's not easy though. And a lot of people, I understand why so many people struggle and so many people why it's so difficult. But I also know how easy it is to turn it around, once you do, but your brain can't see that, especially if you're addicted to drugs. Like, it's one thing, being a criminal and being on the streets, and just being a fuckhead, right? That's different. But if you actually wind up, which, I've been both, but if you are actually holding on to an addiction, then your chemicals in your brain aren't right. Your brain is fucked up. Your brain is not thinking logically. The things that you think are logical, a sane person would think was ridiculous. And you have to realize that. You have to realize that your brain chemical it's imbalanced. It's not right. It's not normal. And you have to get that back to normal. And that's the hard part. That's the part that takes a little bit of time. But you can actually do it a lot quicker than you think. But it does take a little bit of time. But once you do, everything starts functioning different. Like your thoughts, your dreams, everything is different. It just takes a while. I'm currently pre-recording videos to add to my channels I'm about to create. Thanks to you guys. It will be based around EDC, and I'm stoked. We love you, brothers. Thanks for the motivation. Thank you, Brandon. That's awesome. Very cool. Jared, I went to the slam once. That changed my path. It can definitely do that. I went to it a bunch of times. Took me 20 years and a whole lot of messing up to get right. Yeah, I mean, I could say it took me 30 because I turned my shit around when I was 30. 37 now. But I started doing drugs when I was like 25 or something like that. Something like that. Maybe a little, maybe like 24, 25, something like that. I was taking pills and stuff before that, but when I really got addicted, I was like 25. From like 25 to 30, I was like super addicted. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe like 24. Because my brother died when I was 22. And after that, that's when I started like really taking a lot of medications and shit and went downhill. But I wasn't addicted yet. Like it took a little while, but I was selling so much and like dealing that I had an abundance, but I had been, on paper and I first got busted or first got on paper when I was like 13. So I was getting in trouble from a very young age. So I was a troublemaker from, you know, since I was very little. So, and I always thought, I always knew that like I was destined to go to prison one day. Like that's just the way I thought. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or it's stupid, but it's just the way my brain worked. Like I almost thought it was like a badge of honor, right? It was almost like stripes on your chest, to have went and served or something. So many people around me served, and so it's just obviously the way your brain's going to work when those are the people surrounding you, and all great people, by the way, absolute gents. My nephew's in Stateville for 6 weeks, then getting transferred to St. Louis for 7 years. Yeah, my nephew's in prison right now. I'm waiting for him to get out. I'm praying that when he gets out, I'm able to help him stay off the streets and get involved in something. I'm praying that he's gonna, he has so much potential, but like me, he went down the same path I did. And I can't even deny that I was probably a huge part of it. I'm the one who you looked up to, and so Yes, when your brain is on drugs, you start finding Amy Schumer jokes to be funny. Don't do drugs, folks. I feel you. I didn't know you struggle with substance abuse too. Been clean for a while myself. That's awesome. Lee. Good for you. Good for you. I would say to myself, shape up, you jackass. If you're gonna die or be in prison. Yeah, you think that, but when your brain is not functioning right, your brain functions on illegal activities. Like it's what you know, and it's also very addictive. When you're actually addicted to drugs, it's very difficult because you're trying. It's like trying to breathe, right? Like if you're trying to breathe right now, and I stopped your oxygen, you do anything to get that oxygen back on. Well, that's the way drug addiction feels. It feels like you're losing your oxygen and it's going to be cut off soon. And once it cuts off, you're going to die. That's how it feels, right? So you're always trying to get to that oxygen. My nephew's in, oh yeah, I read that one. I was about 17 doing hard stuff and got clean when my son was born. He's 4 now. That's awesome. Hell yeah. I feel lucky to not have been down. I can say I'm not a felon. Good for you. Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing to be a felon for sure. Awesome story, man. It takes a ton of strength and constant difficult commitment to dig out. You can thank those that support you, but never forget to be proud of yourself. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm very proud of myself. And I know my dad would be proud of me and shit. So I'm very, very proud of where I'm at and what I'm doing. Like overwhelmingly proud. And I know even like family and friends, you know, they're all super happy for me too. And you know, even though I'm not a soldier like I used to be, you know, doing shit that I used to do, I still have I still have an abundance of people around me that are just awesome and there to the day I die and would do anything for me. And they know I'd do anything for them. They probably wouldn't call me for certain things because I know I'm on a right path. But if they did, I would definitely show up still. But you know, loyalty is a huge thing to me. And right here, loyalty is loyalty. Even if y'all did the wrong things, seems like your brain never shuts off, but you turn into a positive lifestyle. Yeah, I think that was another thing too, is that I always had that in the back of my head. You know, even when I was like, when I was really going downhill, you know, I always had that. I don't want to say good guy because you know I've done a lot of bad, I've done a lot of evil shit, but I say it. A very masculine character mind. Like my I was always on top of shit, you know, like always just like leading the pack, always just everything, just like an awesome friend, just everything. And because I was like, I guess you can say morals, right? My morals were always really good. Even if I did some really, really bad shit, my morals were always in a good place. And so, you know, I always had a lot of people around me because of that. Because, you know, you know, when you're a good person, you have good people around you. And I had a lot of the best people, you know, I could even ever think about around me. So, but when I started losing those morals and started doing things that I once would have shunned, that's when, you know, it's like you constantly think you're disgusted with yourself, you know, you're fucking disgusted. And it makes it to where when you finally, you know, it feels good to not be disgusted with myself anymore, you know, but shit can go downhill quick. Don't forget your higher power. That's absolutely true. God bless. Jared's mom is really proud. My mom is very proud of me. My mom's always been proud of me. My mom's never not been proud of me. I have the best mother. You guys have no idea. The best, the absolute best mother. Nobody's mom even slightly compares to my mother. My mother's been down since I was a kid. I mean, my mom has been an absolute fucking G since I was a kid. I can't tell you some stories. The shit my mom has been through with me and stood 10 toes down for me every step of the way. She's the best. It's that demon in you you're feeding. Yes. The more bad you do, the more you feed it. Stop feeding it and you will see the good side prevail. Very true. Very, very true. Hey, yeah, it's your fucking fault. It's your fault, dickhead. I just realized that I should have said something right away. You got me. I've never had a fidget toy, and now I've had a damn fidget toy all day. Chris Jones, Bones over here sent this to me, and now instead of flipping something that could cut me, I'm sitting here flipping something that can't. So it makes it even worse. I at least got to think about the one that'll cut me. Honor is currency. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And that's another thing though. Like I was always so, you guys understand, like my brain was, I was always surrounded by people that were loyalty was such a huge thing. Like, you know, motherfuckers that don't call the cops, you know what I mean? And loyalty was, it was honorable. Like you had to be, or you just weren't going to be around. So when, I started doing stupid shit. It like I said, it's embarrassing. It makes it to where you're disgusted with yourself. And it takes a while to get there, you know. It's like you slowly creep downhill, and eventually it just gets to a point you're like, what the fuck am I doing? But then at that point, it's very difficult to get out and stop. I'm very blessed that I was able to. I know shit. Since I've been clean, I've lost, I don't even know, probably 6, 7 friends at least, you know. Some of them have been for murders and shit, but a lot of them drug addiction. Some of them. I would say you can't do really bad things with good morals. What don't you mean with you always had a good moral? You can't really do bad things with a good moral. See, I think you can. I think you can because I was always like I always had good morals, but I think the morals like that we have are very different. Like my morals were just different. Like I was raised probably a little bit different. So it's hard to explain and get people to understand that didn't live that lifestyle or weren't surrounded by the people that I was surrounded by. But the morals are different. Like you're held to a standard. You got to take care of people and you know, hard work and you know, good people surrounding you and also bad people surrounding you, right? And being able to maintain the relationships with, you know, good and bad people, you get involved in a lot of shit, but you see so much as time goes on, you get your hands dirty with so much stuff that, you know, while things are morally good in your head, you know, overall they're not good. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Um, how can I wish I could put it in words, but it's difficult, you know. It's kind of like one time and I've told this story, I'll just say it quick. One time I went to tune somebody up that chased down my sister in a car, right? Chased down my sister in a car over something I did, all right? And called the cops. The cops wound up coming and like trying to get my sister in trouble. And in order to prevent that guy from going to court, I wound up going after him, right? And fucking shit up and whatever. So in the time I was in my head, I was being morally good to my sister, who always had my back, who was always there for me. And I was always raised, you defend your sister, right? I've been in street fights since I was a little kid over my sister. Like I would do anything for her. Even today, you know, I'd die for her. So and that was a standard I was held to by my dad, like to protect and defend my sister, no matter what, at whatever cost, it didn't matter, right? Even if I had to get my teeth stomped in, that was what I was supposed to do in order to protect her. So, you know, when I get down and I get put in a situation where somebody's trying to go after my sister, when it's technically should have fallen on me, you know, I'm more, I guess you could say it's not a good thing, right? But in my head at the time, it was a morally a good thing, you know. I have no idea about mom. Wait, you have no idea about mom. Mother is one and only one is mother. Nobody will treat you the same. Sisters, brothers. Yeah, my mom is definitely a special one. She's as special as they get. She's so awesome. My mom, I've been through so much with my mother, so much, you know. We grew up poor as shit, you know, poor as fuck. And she was always working, you know, multiple jobs, trying to keep food on the table and just busting her ass. We're in the fucking hood, but she's awesome, man. She's doing great now though. My mom's in a great place. I got a stepdad. He's awesome. Um, jails, institutions, or death, from Yale to jail. You can absolutely have good morals and still do bad things, especially if you're battling addiction. And that's another thing, Chad. Yeah, like, and once you start, when you add addiction to it, like, especially if you have a certain type of mindset and then you add addiction to it, yeah, you can definitely be morally good, and still do bad things. It's like, it's kind of like, and I know this is a bad example, but it's kind of like the no women and no children thing, right? Like, you might have morals that will not allow you to do anything harmful to women and children, but that doesn't mean you might not do something harmful to a man, right? That's still morals, even though it's bad. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but I'm trying here. Doing drugs isn't a bad thing to others, though, so is it morally wrong? I would say what the outcome of what you wind up turning into is morally wrong, because it's difficult to have good morals. It depends on the drug you're addicted to, but the drug I was addicted to, I don't think it's possible to have good morals, at least not long term. You can, right? 'Cause like me, I had good morals, but they diminish the longer you're engulfed, and it winds up becoming where you're not the same person and your brain is not working the exact same. You're doing things that you never ever would have done. Like, you never ever, not in a million years, you couldn't have been paid to do certain things, but you're doing them because, morals are out the window. Yes, code of ethics, yes. Thanks, Tanner. It's hard to understand unless if you've ever had a problem with addiction. Yeah, I think if you have had a problem, I think it's going to be very understandable. And I think, as far as like the criminal side, I think anybody can really understand that. Like, people have watched movies. You guys have watched movies. I don't need to, say things perfectly for you to understand what I'm trying to say. I'm obviously not going to say them perfectly, because I'm on the internet. I think I say enough to where you can build a mental picture in your head, and I think that that's good enough, without saying too much. But, you know, I think everybody can kind of wrap their head around that a little bit, at least to some extent. A little toothpaste and water. I never tried that trick, Skipper. Well, you can use what the fuck was it called? We were talking about it earlier, that powder. Barkeeper's Friend. That works really good. It's like baking soda. So I guess you could use baking soda too, probably. Very easy to understand that good people with good morals do bad things, especially addicted. Yes, morals are subjective. Mine are different than someone else's. That's true. It's a standard that you hold yourself to and that you've been taught. Facts. Absolutely. So much respect for how you open up you are with your past. Damn it, how open you are with your past. Always remember, you are a different person now doing great things. Yes, thank you, I appreciate that. And yeah, I do. And I've always been open about my past, because I had to be. One, it's fucking public record, at least a lot of it. Like, obviously I tell stories that are not public record, but a lot of things are. And then things I talk about when I tell stories in story time, they're all past the time limit to where anything can happen. And if anything wasn't, I wouldn't talk about it. So, and a lot of the people I talk about are dead or, whatever. So it makes it to where I'm not incriminating anybody or bringing anybody that would be upset about it. Like when I tell stories about my dad, he's dead. So there's, and, and I, he's a damn movie. The stories I have about between me and my dad, oh my goodness, he is so awesome. When I believe I have control over anything else besides me and my actions, I'm lost, and anything that can change my mood is my kid. Yeah, I'm like that now. Like, I'm very focused on health, mental health, physical health, and work, and just all kinds of stuff. Like, my brain is like, I'm very much aware of everything and anything that's making me better or worse. And I literally try to take on more things that are helping me and push away and stop things that are not benefiting me. Let me guess, your drugs were stimulants? No, it was heroin. Not that I didn't do those drugs, but no, my drug of choice, the one that brought me down, was heroin. Alcohol is the worst. You don't even realize you're still buying it, drinking it, hating yourself for it. It's the hardest addiction ever. Yeah, alcohol is a tough one. Some of the worst withdrawals I've ever seen were from alcohol and heroin. Um, but but yeah, I mean, I've done everything out there, but the one I was mostly addicted to was definitely heroin. I do the same thing when I talk about any of my students. I never say their name, and if I do, it's not their real names. Childhood is sacred. Mine. Yeah, I make sure most of the stories I tell, the people are dead. And even my friends, like, I tell a lot of stories about with friends, like situations, and that's why I leave out a lot of stuff sometimes, because I can't tell that story because so and so's still alive, or so somebody's tied to it, or many other reasons. But things that are that can't be held against anybody or anything like that, then I don't really worry about it too much. Or if they're public record, right? It doesn't matter at that point. But that's why I have a lot of stories, because I have tons of stories that it's been long enough to where it's past the time of which anything can happen. Like, kind of like just now when I was saying that story about going after that dude. I was a minor at the time, so can't get me in trouble for that. Uh, I mean, addiction. As creators, keep making and leaning into your special interest. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I see my cousin Breeze is in the house. What's up, Breeze? I'm gonna take off, guys. I have to use the washroom so bad. And I appreciate you guys staying here and hanging out with me. I love you guys. Peace. No, sorry. Work hard, stay tough. Society's relying on you. Until next time, peace. Love you guys.